and welcome to this special bonus edition of Paris Undressed. In case you don't recognize my voice, my name is Jennifer Geraghty, and I'm the founder of Paris Underground Radio. In honor of Pink October, I'm sitting down with Kathryn Kemp-Griffin, the illustrious host of Paris Undressed and the creator of Pink Bra Bazaar. While you no doubt have gotten to know Kate a bit through this podcast, today she and I are sitting down for an intimate chat about what Pink October means to her, how caring for your breasts is a celebration, and why she was so compelled to create Pink Bra Bazaar. Hello, Kate. Thank you so much for sitting down with me as I flip the microphone on you and interview you for Paris Undressed.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation, and it does feel interesting to be a guest this time around.
So your listeners know you and they know about you from Paris Undressed. Can you tell us a little bit about you in the context of Pink Bra Bazaar?
Well, I know a lot about bras, or bras have somehow gravitated towards me and have become the theme by which I write and I speak and I communicate. And Paris Undressed was about, and still is about, women wearing their bras and being able to identify with their femininity and sensuality through the lens of lingerie. And Pink Bra Bazaar is a breast health charity dedicated to breast health and supporting women with breast cancer. And it was a charity I started 11 years ago in 2010.
Why did you start it? What inspired this creation, this charity?
Well, I was running a lingerie company called Soyelle, and I'd been doing that for about 18 years. It's how I actually was able to find work in France without having working papers. If you start your own company, then you are allowed to work in France. And I decided to start a lingerie company as a way to learn how to speak and write French. And I had been doing that for about 18 years. And being an entrepreneur in France is hard. It's not that easy to, even though it's a French word, it's not easy to be an entrepreneur in France with all the rules and regulations. But perhaps to back up even further, I was adopted at birth. And my birth mother contacted me pretty much the week before we flew over to France about 30 years ago. And I received a letter in the mail just telling me that, well, she was a teenage mom, that although she loved my birth father very much, it wasn't a love story that was going to continue. And it was just giving me some background about my story and how I was just the moment in her life where I was conceived. And we stayed in contact. And sort of many years later, she contacted me again to tell me that she had breast cancer and that she wanted me to have a mammogram sooner rather than later. And at the time, I was just in my 40s. I was still, raising children and having children. I didn't even know what a mammogram was, let alone oncology. But I thought, okay, she wants me to do this, so I'll go. And I went to have my mammogram and they detected early stage breast cancer. And in that moment of the mammogram, when you know you've been told to wait, that you know that's not a good sign and that you're sort of going to be one of those women that day that that your life is about to change. And in that moment, I decided that, you don't know if you're going to live or you're going to die. All this is sort of, you don't know anything yet. So, your imagination goes to the worst case scenario, of course. And at least it does for me. I make a big drama about everything. And I decided that if very little time was left on earth, that I should stop my lingerie company. And I'd been, 18 years was enough. I'd learned enough French. It was enough. Time had come. And then I thought, if I don't die, don't necessarily go back to what I was doing just by habit. Remember that when I was faced with a big decision that this was something I wanted to do, stop what I was doing. And then the third thing I thought about was, well, I have to start a breast health charity. The bra for me is the most logical place to start for breast health education. So, of course, because my breast cancer was detected so early, it was treatable and everything was fine. Unfortunately, my birth mother died from breast cancer. So I always say really that she saved me twice. I thought it took a lot of courage for her to make that decision as a teenager not to raise me. And then her instinct was to contact me. And because somebody did that, I reacted. I don't know if a sign saying, get your mammogram, if I would have reacted the same way. Somebody took time out of their day, reached out to me, and because of love and concern said, go and do this. And I didn't go sort of kicking and screaming, but my eyeballs were rolling. I would have rather done any other thing that day than go and do that. So really, I consider myself really to be extremely lucky to have been loved by two mothers.
Yeah, absolutely. What an impactful story. And here you are now taking that gift that your birth mother gave to you and passing it on to other people.
Yeah, it's an incredible experience to be surrounded by so many women, both in both scenarios, both as Paris Undressed in the change rooms with women in bras or women fully dressed. You know, there's something about the bra that brings an intimacy to a conversation immediately. And as we both know, living in a foreign country, there's language differences, but there's a universal language between women that's extraordinary. And it goes above and beyond religion, linguistics, cultures. You know, there's a smile and there's a wink and there's the way we touch our bodies that's just very familiar, that we all understand. And it's honestly, I've never felt more at home than sitting around a table of 10 women and none of us speak the same language. You know, it's quite extraordinary. And it's the one place where my accent, in fact, helps. You know, instead of getting 10 people looking at me strangely because I don't speak French the right way, I get 10 people looking at me because we're all in this together. So it really just makes everything brings everything to a very human level of this sort of shared, familiar, universal experience that we're all going through.
Why did you call it Pink Bra Bazaar?
Well, I decided, pink is the color of breast cancer, and it's also a very familiar color for lingerie as well. So I wanted something identifiable. I wanted to call it something in English that I think from being an entrepreneur, I had this idea of it being a brand idea, that would have its own logo, that would be pretty, that it'd be something that would attract you as opposed to scaring the living bejesus out of you and make you run for the hills. So pink was to identify, the lingerie and the breast cancer or the cancer component, bra, because that's what the medium we were going to use. And then bazaar is Bazaar. And it was this idea of, a little bit of this and a little bit of that and never being the same. But with the two A's, it was really a wink to Harper's Bazaar as well, that it was going to be fashion, it was going to be fun, and never really knowing what to expect, but hopefully you didn't want to miss it. Sort of come because you don't know what's going to happen. So it was sort of that idea, Pink Bra Bazaar.
It's a party, not like a death sentence.
No, exactly. It's a celebration of something. I don't think I knew at the time quite what we were going to be celebrating. The language around breast cancer is problematic in any language, and certainly it was at the time. Giving a charity a name that didn't reflect the illness, which at the time, 11 years ago, and still even now, it's one of the things I noticed the most, that there's a tendency to always talk about the illness. And illness and health, illness is part of health, good health, bad health. It's the same. It's like heads and tails. It's the same coin. And talking about illness all the time isn't how people are really, it's just not an easy thing to listen to. So people don't necessarily gravitate towards listening to illness. It's not a fun subject.
Yeah.
So by having fun events and getting people to come and gathering people together, if you then do it the right way, information's passed differently, and as a listener, you retain it differently. So that was sort of the idea back then, and that's been it's a bit of our signature now.
People who don't know your organization, your charity, they do know what breast cancer is, even if it's not specific. They have this idea in their heads, and it's this big, weighty, scary thing. Mm-hmm. Cancer is such a scary word. So how is it to balance this fear that people have about cancer with this idea of something that you can do for yourself to take care of yourself? How do you balance these two ideas? Well, I thought about it a little bit. I mean, if I take myself as an example, when I'm scared about something, I usually, at every scary movie, by the first beat of that ominous music, my hands are over my eyes. I don't want to see. I'm not opening my eyes. I'm nudging the person beside me. He's like, tell me when it's over. And then going through breast cancer or anything you fear, you do find sort of an unexpected strength and courage, but we don't necessarily gravitate towards fear with enthusiasm. It creates an enormous resistance, and everything is telling me, I don't want to know. So I think, the word cancer, and in particular breast cancer,
the way it's spoken about, it's almost as if people think it's contagious. That if you actually listen to the word, then maybe you'll get it, or you don't want to know about all the horrors about it. And that's a little bit possibly of how it's been communicated as well, because breast cancer, yes, it's the most frequent cancer for women for sure, but it's also one of the most treatable as well. And we're living in France, we have an incredible healthcare system here that helps you look after yourself in terms of prevention and in the treatment. So in fact, out of things that could go badly, there's a lot here to help you, that the recovery rate's close to 80-90%. There's a lot to be grateful for. And so balancing is, yes, bad things happen in life, but a lot of good things, and there's people out there that can help. And breast cancer is one of those cancers that, we don't have a cure yet, but we have extremely good treatable options out there that are only magnified the sooner that you get it, the sooner that it's detected. So it's the education process. And I've learned that changing behavior and learning about something, once I know about something, then your imagination can't play as many tricks on you. It's the fear of the unknown that we all get caught up in sometimes. And that once you know, well, then you know what questions to ask, you know where to find the help that you need. And then the power switches from fear to, oh, I've got something I can do. I know what to do. It's not knowing that's scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are a lot of misconceptions and myths and sorts of things about breast cancer, about cancer in general, but breast cancer specifically. Mm-hmm. Is it true that wearing a bra can cause breast cancer?
Yeah, that's one of those myths. No, wearing a bra, an underwire bra, does not cause breast cancer. There's this idea that the underwire sits on our lymph nodes and somehow builds up and blocks and builds up toxins. Well, there's no credible scientific study. And you can check out, for any listener, you can check out, the American Cancer Society, the Maurer Foundation. There's lots of different breast health charities and organizations that will support that as well. It's one of those myths. That being said, it just doesn't make sense to wear a bra with an underwire that's on your lymph node, because that's it doesn't make sense. And it also shows that your bra is not fitting the right way. So from both the Paris Undressed perspective and the Pink Bra Bazaar perspective, it's about knowing your body as well. And for Pink Bra Bazaar, we have a motto, and it's nobody knows my body better than me. And really the whole dialogue is just helping you as a woman understand how your body works and how to take care of it and how to listen to it. And then with that comes confidence, it comes education, and then you have the resources to go and ask the people and get the help that you might need the day you might need it. Paris Undressed will be right back after a word from our sponsors.
We've all seen the Eiffel Tower, queued at the Louvre, and picnicked on the steps of Sacré-Cœur. But a treasure hunt through the Marais, drag queen bingo in Belleville, graffiti art installations in abandoned warehouses in the 14th? Those are the unique Parisian experiences we don't want to let slip away. My name is Jennifer Geraghty, and I'm the host of Don't Miss This. From art installations to authors' talks to tours to culinary ateliers and everything in between. Each week, Don't Miss This will fill you in on the best of what's going on in Paris. Don't Miss This airs every Sunday on Paris Underground Radio. If you think you've got something we should know about, please email us at hello@parisundergroundradio.com. Happy exploring!
And now, back to Paris Undressed.
Why are you personally so attracted to the bra? It's so fundamental in Paris Undressed and here as well. What is it that attracts you to bras so much?
Well, I think because I wasn't attracted to bras to begin with, it was I grew up sort of covering my body up. There was too much body for me to know what to do with as a teenager. And I just I covered it up. And the bra for me really presented more of a problem not in size, although I developed early, but really linked to sexuality. I just very, very early on linked the bra to feeling overwhelmed that this was somehow going to send the wrong message to somebody. And ultimately, it was about having it taken off and by somebody perhaps without my consent, or there just seemed to be a lot of boundaries that nobody could really clear up for me between, what is first base, second base. And it just seemed very confusing to me. And that the bra seemed to be this one element that was the on or the off. And yeah, I didn't know how to wear a bra so that I felt good about myself. It really felt like I was doing something or putting on something to be somebody else. And I wasn't sure what that person was supposed to be. And all the ads really linked this idea of sexy. And, at the time, sexy scared the living shit out of me. I didn't know what that meant. And I didn't know what you're supposed to do. I had an inkling, but I really didn't know what to do. And that was just too much responsibility and unknown at the time. So the writing of it, and then the writing about the bra, and then coming into wearing a bra and sensuality has really been this journey in France. And running the lingerie company gave me this chance to be an observer. And as an observer, I just watched French women with their bodies, and they didn't seem to have anywhere near the same dilemmas that I did. And then I tried to find words, and I studied that. And that was sort of how Paris Undressed unfolded. And I began to appreciate my body. I began to love it and find a curiosity about it through the lens of lingerie, and coming into this sort of loving and caring and sensual relationship with myself. I was able to do through the lens of lingerie. And then that's sort of been the focus now of being able to introduce lingerie as such to other women as well, as a way to learn and feel differently about yourself.
I never thought about it before, but the bra is really like a clear demarcation between childhood and adulthood. Mm-hmm. And it's like a constant reminder every day you put it on, you're no longer a child. Mm-hmm. And a constant reminder, like when you're going through puberty, that you're no longer the person that you thought you were. And there are expectations of who you're meant to be. And I don't know. Yeah, finding your identity in that is confusing.
Well, I think I've noticed in my interviews, my conversations with Paris Undressed as well, there's a moment in all of our lives where there's a move from one side, as you say, from young girl to the other side. And it doesn't necessarily mean that our entire our mind and our body aren't necessarily in agreement of when that line happens. And then with breast cancer, you can't talk about breasts, period, about cancer or not cancer, without inviting a conversation about body image, religion, who said what at what age to you that might have made you feel better about yourself or might have made you feel worse about yourself. And that gets carried with you with your lingerie, or when we're trying on bras in change rooms, or we're getting dressed in the morning. And it certainly follows us when we're diagnosed with breast cancer. Our relationship to our bodies and breasts as a symbol of femininity, regardless of where you are on the line of femininity or how you define that, it suddenly becomes somebody else's decision. And you might love your breasts, you might not really care about them at all, but that doesn't mean you can take them off or treat them with radiation or do something else. So there's just a lot of links that we're not necessarily aware of, that it's more than the disease, and it's more than just a bra. It's always more than just a bra.
Well, you have daughters, so how do you talk to them about their breasts?
Yes, I have a 28-year-old and I have a 17-year-old. So the conversations have always been just quite open about bodies. Yeah, lingerie shopping, I certainly took a page out of learning what I did from the French, and just that it wasn't, my mom was a nurse and was wonderful. But when we went to go bra shopping, where we bought bras, it was the jean section was on one side and the bras were on the other. And I remember being horrified at this idea that this boy that I had the biggest crush on, who obviously didn't notice me at all at school, but I just like, what if I run into him? And everybody was so proud that this was going to be a bra moment. And I remember just feeling absolutely mortified that this age had come. And with the French, when I talk about, or when I ask them about their first bra experiences, they usually remember the print, the color, the texture of the bra. They remember going into the store. And I don't remember I mean, my mom did her best, but we weren't talking about the texture or fabric or stripes, or it just wasn't that kind of conversation. It was about support. And you can see that now even in the ads as how lingerie is advertised in North America. It's about a solution. You have too big breasts, well, we can make them smaller. You don't have enough breasts, we can make them bigger. You have back fat, we can smooth that out. It's always with this assumption there's something wrong with you. And in France, when you go bra shopping, it's about a discovery of almost another sense, or calling in all the senses. So what do you like? Oh, do you like prints or do you like plain colors? I know, but I remember somebody asking me if I like lace, or if I was a lace person or not. I had no idea. It just wasn't that kind of conversation. So with my daughters and with the women I speak to, it's like, yeah, what do you like? When people ask me, what's the most important thing when you're buying a bra? I said, well, ask yourself, do you like it? I mean, don't even try it on. If you don't like it, I don't care what the price is, if it's on sale, if it's free, if it's the best brand out there. If you don't like it, and it's such an obvious question, but it's really not an easy answer, because we've never really asked ourselves, do you like it? It's filled with lots of shoulds. And if you're listening, just go through your bra drawer and ask yourself about each one. Do you like it? And see how many stay in the drawer and how you answer. So with my daughters, it was about that. It was just, I'm almost trying it out for myself the first time. Let's just go see, what do we like? What does this feel like? Oh, I didn't realize I liked color. Oh, I didn't realize I know. In fact, I don't like lace, or I don't like lace touching me, but maybe I like it as an applique or something decorative. So it was a different experience.
What did you tell them about Pink Bra Bazaar?
Well, this is a perfect example of just how hard it is to get a message through. I talk a lot about breast health, and we are very focused on helping women learn how to do a breast self-exam. And guess what? Every year, I have to remind myself, do I actually do my breast self-exam every month? Well, no. And I felt really bad. How can I possibly be the founder and the president of a breast health charity, and I don't actually do it? Until I realized, well, that's actually just the reality of our days. We need to be reminded. And it's the same thing with my daughters. Okay, mom runs a breast health charity. They come and help me with all my events, and they're all part of it. But actually, how do I instill and help them integrate this essential new habit into their lives? And it was really just a reminder of how hard it is to make things a priority in our lives, because we all have the best intentions, but there's so many good intentions out there, and actually how to make that happen. So in fact, it's turned into, okay, October Rose is this month of breast cancer awareness. But I think of it more as more than just the awareness. We all know about breast cancer. We're very aware of it. But how do you actually change behavior? And we need just these gentle reminders. And it's not by yelling. If I yelled at myself or yelled at my daughters about why haven't I done this, that doesn't motivate me to do it the next time. I just feel badly. I feel guilty, horrible about myself, and like a failure as a mother, as a human being, and all the rest. That's not going to help me change behavior. But if I say, hey, Kate, or hey, to my daughters, I know how hard it is to remember. You forgot. That's okay. Just time to, let's remember how important this is again. Well, that friendly holding my hand out to you, saying, I know how hard it is, and how can I help you remember to remind yourself, that changes the conversation completely. If we all know we're supposed to eat healthily, but that doesn't happen every day or every night, So how do we make those intentions become a reality?
When should you get your first mammogram?
So those are the kind of questions that we actually don't even answer, because it's different with every country. It's a big question. What's most important to us is that you know your body at a time where you feel that you can ask the right person at the right time. So, we suggest that you start doing your own breast self-exams. Call it at the age of 18. Your body's formed. And then if you're doing your breast self-exam every month, and you're very familiar with your body, the moment you find something that might not have been the month before, if it's there the next month, maybe you want to ask somebody about it, but you're not scared. You're actually just sort of being cautiously aware of something. The mammogram is something for you and your doctor to decide, depending on your family history, depending on your risk factors, and it's just it's just a different answer for every woman, and everybody's different. So it's about feeling confident in your body to know when to ask the question and to get the answer that you're looking for.
For women who hear the word mammogram and are terrified, can you give us some advice or some tips or something to expect when we're going in to get one for the very first time?
Yeah, there's going in for a mammogram. It's like everything. When you haven't had an exam before, who like going to the gynecologist for the first time? I mean, I can think of a million things I'd rather do than that. But then once you've learned what it is and you know what it is, it becomes easier. So why not go with a friend? And so, depending on your personality, some people just tick off boxes as they come along, and it's just easier to kind of just march forward. Other people don't because why? Because we're human. We get scared. We don't want to do things we don't want to do. And we talk a lot in Pink Bra Bazaar about sort of creating links with other people. If you and I are friends, and we are friends, so this is easy. And you happen to mention to me today or whatever that you need to book your mammogram, and I see you next time and I say, "Hey Jennifer, have you done your mammogram?" You say, "Well, no." And you give me some fabulous excuse about, I don't know, travel or your dog had to go to the vet or whatever. And then the next time I see you, ask you again, and you've pulled out another excuse. Well, then, I might not let you off the hook so easily. I might just say, listen, Jennifer, it sounds like there's some, and as a friend, I'm not a medical advice anyway, to say, listen, what's going on? You say, well, in fact, I don't know. I don't really want to do it. I think of a million things I'd rather do. And frankly, I'm a little bit scared. I was like, you know what, Jennifer, I'll go with you. Let me go with you. Or even just by talking about it with somebody who has done, it's like, okay, listen, well, we're going to go. And yes, they're going to, you're going to have your breasts manipulated a little bit. And they're going to be taking pictures of it. It's going to be some pressure. There's one breast that usually, might hurt more than another. But there's nothing, I mean, it's a chance to have an exam that actually helps you stay healthy. And we are all able to sort of understand that. Discomfort's not pain. It's not. I think what people get freaked out about is it's the bigger fear. It's what's the answer. It's not about the test. We do lots of things to our bodies, cosmetic surgery and all the rest. So it's not a mammogram that's changing any of that. It's the idea of what if. It's that bigger fear, that bigger cloud hanging over us. We don't really necessarily want to know. And if I don't go, well, then I don't know. Or it's this, if I don't go, then it won't happen. That's the fear.
I think that's true.
It's not the breast getting squished for a millisecond. Paris Undressed will be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Is Paris the most romantic city in the world? It is, but there's much more to its romantic allure than the Eiffel Tower. The Romancing in Paris podcast aims to reveal the true romantic essence of the city. Secret gardens, hidden historic sites, and terribly seductive bars. Join romantic expert and writer Lily Heisey as we discover the city's best romantic spots, ideal for both curious couples and lovers of Paris alike. Ready to experience the real romantic Paris? Tune into the Romancing in Paris podcast every Wednesday on Paris Underground Radio. Visit parisundergroundradio.com/Romancing in Paris to listen and subscribe.
And now, back to Paris Undressed.
So you've created this My Boob book, or Mon Carnet du Sein. What is that? Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So in France, for those of you who haven't maybe been here that long, I didn't know this until I gave birth, but when you give birth, out comes your baby, and then almost within 30 seconds, they present you with this Carnet de Santé, your health book. And on the first page is your baby's name, the weight, the time, etc. And this book follows the baby around for all its vaccines, all the way through the first years of their life. And as the mother of 5, I can tell you these books were indispensable. I couldn't remember who had been vaccinated, who hadn't been vaccinated, who weighed what, who got what. And I just thought, after all of these breast health workshops that we had done, so many different conversations about breasts and breast health that I kept backing up the conversation. It wasn't, we started talking about mammograms, but before mammograms, it's about what is a breast. And as women, lots of things happen to our bodies. But because they happen to our bodies doesn't mean we really know why or what happened. And Mon Carnet de Sang, or my boob book, is really 16 small little pages dedicated to the breasts. And we start with the anatomy. We talk about the myths and the realities. We talk about what happens as your breasts develop from a teenager through menopause. All these things that perhaps might just sort of sound obvious, but when you actually ask yourself, well, what is a breast made of? You might not know. And it's just, it's sort of the education of just what is this body that I've been gifted, and what is a breast, and what am I supposed to be paying attention to, and why? And throughout the book, it's just a little booklet. It's like a postcard size that you can keep in your purse. You can flick through. And ultimately, it talks about what breast cancer is, and most importantly, how to do a breast self-exam. And we go into great detail about that. Then there's a space to write down some questions that might come to mind. Some questions you can maybe ask a sister or a mother or a friend. Other questions you might need to ask a doctor. So it's a place to note those down. And then it finishes with something that's become our signature in our workshops, which is called I Promise. So after you've gone through a workshop, or after you've started practicing the breast self-exams, it's an invitation to take the I Promise. And the I Promise is promising to do a breast self-exam every month. And it's a round calendar with all the months. And as you do January, February, March, you just connect the dots. And at the end of the year, you have this wonderfully round circle because you were proactive in your breast health. And it's just, again, this reminder, oh, well, I didn't see January move to February. Oh, perhaps you missed February. But again, it's not about criticizing yourself. The best thing is that you noticed. So great, let's do it in March. So it's just this little book to have on hand. There, so many things happen to our bodies and our breasts, and it's just this focus and this space to let's just take a deep dive into what this is all about. So that's the motivation for my boob book. Mon Carnet de Sang exists in French and in English, and it's downloadable on our website for everybody to have their own copy.
So we're talking now because it's October, and this is Pink October, or October Rose. So there's a lot of pink about this in the name of breast cancer, but how does buying pink things help raise awareness and prevent breast cancer? What's the connection?
Yeah, so now October is really creeping into September. It's a little bit like Christmas, which I actually just saw Christmas decorations in a store near where I live, and I just think it's September. So now October Rose, to get the jump on everybody else, has now sort of crept into September. Pink October, October Rose, and they call it a little bit sort of pink washing as well. We're inundated with pink everything, and I've been looking at this sort of because I'm part of it as well. How do I get my message across in a time that's, and October Rose is certainly the time. But then as a consumer, how is it if I buy a pink toaster that I am actually helping breast cancer awareness? And so I think it's just really important to really read the text. I saw recently a pink velvet armchair. It was called Millennial Pink Velvet Armchair. And 10% of profits were going to be dedicated to or be going to a breast cancer charity. So I thought to myself, well, if I sat my tush down on this plush velvet armchair, where does the other 90% go? Somebody's making the 90%. And it doesn't necessarily belittle the 10%, but it doesn't necessarily merit buying the pink velvet armchair. And I think part of all of that, well, first of all, it's for companies, it's great publicity, and they ultimately probably do care about their clients. But that pink millennial velvet chair and talking about how great it's going to look on my Zoom calls or anything else isn't helping me change my behavior or moving towards breast health as the consumer. It is giving 10% profits to this selected charity. But again, I question where the other 90% go to. And in fact, ultimately, what really matters to me is how does that consumer change her behavior? And I think it comes back to this fear thing again. I feel as if the message is getting diluted in that as a consumer, if I see that and I think pink and I buy pink, then maybe subconsciously I'm thinking maybe that gives me a get out of jail and out a cancer-free card, that perhaps I can just sort of avoid it. I've done good, I did good, and now maybe nothing bad will happen to me. So I just think I know there's a lot of noise in the month of October. And I would just suggest you just read carefully what's out there and ultimately ask yourself why you're buying something in particular, and for what reason, and how it's actually helping you become more aware of your body, and how are you reducing your risk for breast cancer by buying this pink toaster or the pink velvet armchair.
Yeah, very good point. What is the Pink Bra Bazaar doing for the month of October?
So for the month of October, we have a couple of events going on locally. We have an event going on in the south of the Department of 91 where there's been a museum. It's called Pink Ladies, and we've associated ourselves with the museum who's taken some sculptures and some paintings. And in our breast health workshops, we do a lot of customization. So they have, and this is I think it's quite fun and curious of a museum to have thought of this project, but they've taken sculptures and paintings and sort of imagined, well, which bra would she be wearing from our selection? And it's displayed in a cultural center, and it just again elevates the conversation in an amusing way to be able to pass the message. Ultimately, we have our signature event is our global Pink Bra Toss, and that's on October 16th. And it's just a moment for wherever you are in the world to grab a friend and a bra and toss it, and it's a way to celebrate breast health. And again, just keeping this conversation alive so that this idea of universal being feminine and caring about breast health with bras flying in the air from Australia to California, that we're all in this together, and our little contribution to ourselves actually helps the collective whole. So that's on October 16th, and it's called Pink Bra Toss, and it's an invitation just to toss where you are and look after yourselves.
What's one thing that our listeners can do right now to reduce their risk for breast cancer?
Well, number one would be if you don't know how to do a breast self-exam, but I would highly suggest downloading our Carnet du Sang, taking the time to look at your breasts, just look at yourself in the mirror, touch them, and learning how to do a breast self-exam is the number one suggestion I would give. And the second one, just look at your lifestyle. Is there more exercise that can be included? Can you be eating less processed food? Are you smoking? Those are all things that you can change right now, right this very instant, that can dramatically reduce your risk for breast cancer. And then the third one would be, take a look at your family history. Great way to talk about it and bring up the conversation, but just know, what is my family history with cancer? It doesn't necessarily mean that your chances are going to increase sort of dramatically. There is a correlation, but it's not so much that. It's about bringing the conversation and breaking the taboos along the way. And just being able to, it's back to knowledge. What's been going on in my family? And quite often we find stories or hear stories that people tell us, but they didn't know how to tell it at the time because there wasn't room for the conversation. And quite often in our workshops, which happen in very public places, we hear stories where mothers tell daughters, well, in fact, when you were 10 years old, I had breast cancer, and there was just no place to tell that story. So it's just a chance to find out what's been going on in your own family. Those would be my suggestions.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. How can people find out more about you and Pink Bra Bazaar and what's going on?
Well, thank you very much, Jennifer, for asking. And I will be following up to make sure that you are looking after your body as well. And for the chance just to be able to, between, friends and people we see a lot of, just knowing what's going on with your breast health. And to find out more about Pink Bra Bazaar, we have a website, so that pinkbrabazaar.org. It's pinkbrabazaar.org. And like I said, there's all the information about the different events that we do, as well as how to do a breast self-exam. And we're available on Instagram and social media, and we would love to hear about your breast health.
Thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Kate, for letting me hijack your podcast. I promise Kate herself will be back next week. And of course, her regularly scheduled episode, This Week with Anne Marcella, is also out today. To learn more about Pink Bra Bazaar, please head to pinkbrabazaar.org, where you can also download my boob book. The Global Bra Toss will be held on October 16th, and you can find more information on the Pink Bra Bazaar website.
Thank you. Merci for listening to Paris Undressed. Paris Undressed is produced by Paris Underground Radio. For more on this show and shows like it, please go to parisundergroundradio.com.